Welcome to the State of the Market for Law Firm Sales in 7 minutes. My name is Jeremy Poock. I lead Senior Attorney Match. In today's In 7 Minutes, it's a part two of our series on debunking the three fears that prevent senior attorneys from considering joining growing law firms. So let's jump right into it. Fear number two that senior attorneys have when considering joining a growing law firm is that they're suddenly going to just lose control of not only their business lives, but like their lives generally. That all of a sudden, by joining a growing law firm, you're going to be told that you have to show up to work at a certain time. You can't leave until a certain time. You have to dress a certain way. You have to bill a number of hours in a certain way. All of that comes together as this concern that I'm going to lose control. Well, let's just look at what life is like when you're running your office right now. A very typical senior attorney client that we have that is an attorney that's practiced more than 30 years. What they have when they're running their own office is thoughts about maybe next year I can finally slow down, that they wish they could take even a 2 week vacation, that they're just thinking about payroll is due next week or the following week, rent is due on the first of the month. That's the identity that most senior attorneys have when they have that quote unquote control of running their offices. So now let's debunk that fear number two of that loss of control. Because when our clients join growing law firms, they typically, by no longer having to manage the office, they actually gain control in terms of improving their work life balance. Because, first, as we all know now, post 2020, we as lawyers, senior attorneys included, can practice remotely. When you have access to a deeper bench that is more lawyers at the growing law firm that you join, you realize that your clients can work with other attorneys and they appreciate working with younger attorneys who you are working with, supervising, or simply transferring your trust to those lawyers who can capably represent your clients. And when you've joined a growing law firm and you don't have to worry about managing the office anymore, you don't have to be concerned about taking a 2 week vacation. Heck, our clients take 3 week vacations, even longer sometimes, because they know that the firm that they joined can capably manage their practice when they're off doing things outside of the office. So if we can just look at this gaining of control that senior attorneys accomplish by joining growing law firms, we really break it down into three areas in terms of these afterthoughts after our clients join growing firms. Number one is on the family level. You have more control because you can spend more time with your family. At the work level, you benefit by having that deeper bench, that you have clients that you can introduce to lawyers at the firm that you have joined that can capably represent and continue representing your clients. And then just the great relief of actually having time to reflect when you're not worrying about managing the office. You can think about marketing, you can focus on business development, you can focus on practicing law. Hence, as compared to that control that you have when you're running an office that you really typically don't even enjoy running, by joining a growing law firm, you gain much more control and improve your work life balance as well. In terms of the third fear, that third fear that senior attorneys have when it comes to preventing them from considering joining a growing law firm is the fear of a loss of identity, right? That is, you've been running your office for years, sometimes even decades. The office itself is your identity. So the concern is that if you join another firm, all of a sudden you're just going to be one of many, right? As my mom would say when I was in junior high, right? I would say, okay, well, you're a big fish in a small pond. Great. It was neat being that, big fish in a small pond. You go to high school, now you're a smaller fish in a bigger pond. But that doesn't mean that you lose your identity. And plus, let's look at what the identity looks like when you are running your own practice, right? So many of our clients, the office is their identity, okay? But looking under the hood of what that identity means, it means that you're the boss, right? You're in charge of payroll. You're in charge of making rent and making rent payments. You need to hire and fire people. you really can't slow down. You can't take a multi-week vacation that you would love to take. And for those senior attorneys that have would-be internal successors, those would-be internal successors, they typically don't want to buy your practice and they can't afford to either, which is just an ongoing conundrum because that identity that you have really for a lot of our clients means you're just stuck. In terms of who wants to purchase your practice, right? Let's just take a look at that, right? If your internal successors, if they don't want to purchase your practice and can't afford to, well, who really can? Growing law firms. Growing law firms want and need the practices that senior attorneys have developed over their careers because of the synergy value that senior attorneys present, which is the instant client growth that you offer, the combined workforce, that is your internal successors that don't want to purchase your practice, well, they present great attorneys together with you and your support staff to a growing law firm that wants that combined workforce. The cumulative experience that you and your staff presents and the marketing value, this great knowledge base that you've developed over the course of your career, that in today's 3.0 digital era for law firms, growing law firms recognize that you present tremendous amounts of digital value. So when our clients join growing law firms, yes, their identity changes. We can't deny that, but it really transforms, right? It transforms from the identity of the office as you and you are the office to transforming to leaving an impactful legacy in four ways. Way number one is that you're leaving a legacy of your clients. Your clients are in good hands when you have joined a growing law firm that wants and needs to continue representing your clients. You're leaving a legacy with your key employees who now have a job, which is what they really want at a firm that you've joined. You're able to leave the legacy of the experience that you and your staff has developed and can teach that to lawyers and para staff at firms that you join, and the legacy of the marketing value, whether it's a matter of you starting to do a blog, a podcast, videos, writing that you just haven't had time to do. That transformation of your identity to a legacy, it means that you don't lose your identity. It just means that your identity is transforming into a different type of identity that is leaving this legacy behind of the years of practice that you have developed, earned, and learned and can pass on when our clients, senior attorneys, join growing law firms. So for today's buzzer beater, we are debunking the three fears that prevent senior attorneys from joining growing law firms. So just to lay out what those three fears are. Fear number one is having a boss, that you're suddenly going to have a new boss by joining a growing law firm. Fear number two is that you're going to lose control. All of a sudden, you're going to be told to show up to work at a certain time, leave at another time, dress a certain way, bill a certain way. And the third fear is that you're going to lose your identity, right? That is, by joining a bigger firm, all of a sudden, you're just going to lose the identity that you've developed over the course of your career. In terms of debunking those three fears, our clients, senior attorneys, when they join growing law firms, they don't lose, they don't gain a boss, they gain colleagues. And you don't have a boss because you show up on day number one with a name tag that says, hello, I provide instant client growth to the firm that you have joined. Number two is that you don't lose control, you actually gain greater control and gain much better work-life balance by joining a firm where you no longer need to manage the office. And the third debunking in terms of the fact that you don't lose your identity is that your identity transforms. It transforms from the identity of managing and running your own office to leaving a legacy that's comprised of four impactful parts. That you're leaving a legacy to make sure that your clients are left in good hands. You're leaving a legacy with your key employees that often are joining the growing law firm that you join. The legacy of sharing the cumulative expertise that you've developed over the course of your career with lawyers and support staff that you join at a growing law firm. And fourth is a legacy of the great digital value that is totally untapped typically on your part. And when you join a growing law firm, they welcome exploring and really exploiting the digital value that you present. And that is today's state of the market for law firm sales, and probably a lot more than 7 minutes.